Hello friends, welcome back to Robotics Automate Academy. So this is the part 2 of Conditionals, and if you haven't watched the part 1 then please do watch it, because in order to understand this video you need to watch it. You can find the link in the description box and also other important links you might need. And in today's video I'm going to explain the and also show you the 3 common ways that you learned from the previous video or the part 1. So let's get started. Just a review from the relational operators video. A relational operator determines how a value on the left side of an expression compares to the value on the right side of an expression. So after it makes the determination, it outputs a value of true or false that reflects the truth value of the expression. So for example, 6 is equal to 6, which outputs to true, but on the other side 5 equal to 6 outputs to false. As you know that, you should know that it's a simple math. So now I will show you the first way. So now we will create a new variable and I will name it testing, but you can name it whatever you want. Then I will assign the value 7 to the variable. You can put any value you want. And also notice that this step uses the assignment operator and not the equality operator, because the equality operator will come in use when we do the if statement. So moving on, now we will say if testing is equal to 7, then we put a colon, and you will notice that as you press the enter key, Python indents the next line automatically. And this is because it tells the Python, the indentation tells the Python that the task or task are the part of the if statement. So whatever you put here is the task, and Python should only execute the task when the condition is true. So this is the condition, that's the if, and this is the condition. So if the condition is false, then Python will move on to the very next code that is not indented. In any programming languages, indentation is very important. As we encounter more situations where you have to indent lines, then you will start to understand the importance of indentation. Let's say if you don't indent the print function that we are going to say, then it is not the part of the if statement. Like what I'm trying to say, that if you indent the task, then the task is not part of the if statement anymore, and when you run the code, the task will still do its task despite the condition is false. So moving on, in the print function I will say testing is 7. So now let's run it and see, we get the value testing is 7, which means the condition is true. But if we change the value here in the condition and say 4, and when we run it, see, we get nothing. This is because the condition is false and Python moved on, but since there was no code after the task, then the execution stopped. So now for the way number 2, sometimes you want to perform more than one task after making a decision. Python relies on indentation to determine when to stop executing tasks as part of an if statement. As long as the next line is indented, it's part of the if statement. When the next line is outdented, it becomes the first line of code outside the if block. A code block consists of a statement and the task associated with that statement. The same term is used no matter what kind of statement you are working with, but in this case you are working with an if statement that is part of a code block. So now I will show you how to use indentation to execute multiple steps as part of an if statement. As you see here, I will use the same code, but we are going to make some changes to it. We only have one condition, one task currently, but we want multiple tasks now. The way we can perform this is by just clicking the enter key after the first task and do whatever you want to do. But before that, check if the line is indented or not. Then in this case I will say print all done, or whatever you would like to say. Then you can add as many tasks as you would like. Now let's execute the code and see, the both of the tasks are executed because the condition is true. And as you already know, if you change the value in the condition, over here the condition will be false and the task will not execute. But now let's say you want to type a code that you don't want it to be part of the if statement, then just click the backspace key. So see, it's indented. Click the backspace key or whatever key you use to delete text on your keyboard. After doing that, type the code, and when you execute it, you will see that despite the if statement is false, the code that is not part of the if code block is still working or still does its task. So far, the two ways have all shown a single comparison. Real life often requires that you make multiple comparisons to account for multiple requirements. For example, when baking cookies, if the timer has gone off and the edges are brown, it's time to take the cookies out of the oven. To make multiple comparisons, you create multiple conditions by using relational operators and combine them by using logical operators. Logical operator is something that we haven't learned yet, but they're like very easy to learn, and most of the time they're used with conditional statements like the if statement. So logical operator describes how to combine conditions. Now they have three values: and, or, and not. So and or not, and both the meaning of them are same as the one in the real life. So for example, you might say x is equal to 6 and y is equal to 2 as two conditions for performing one or more tasks. The AND keyword is a logical operator that states that both conditions must be true. One of the most common uses for making multiple comparisons is to determine when a value is within a certain range. In fact, range checking, the act of determining whether data is between two values, is an important part of making your application secure and user-friendly. So now I will show you how to use the logical operators with the if statement. So for this one, we'll need to use the input function as you learned from the input function video. So I'm going to create a new variable named number. And I will say int. The reason is because the data I get from the user, I want it to be an integer. So I will say int, then input, and I will ask type a number between 1 and let's say 10. No, just keep it simple. Then I will going to say if, then I will going to use the logical operator and. So I will say if number is greater than or equal to 1 and number is less than or equal to 10. So any number ranging from 1 to 10, if that is true, then I want you to print you type the number. But now I will show you all four scenarios. So let's run it. So first one is just doing the correct thing. We get it, but someone might try to say a number is greater than 10. So see, nothing will happen. Third scenario is when someone will try to use a different type like float. We will get an error because as you know that you cannot convert and float into an integer. Lastly, I will do a string. So let's say Niket, which is my name. So we should get an error because as I already told you, you cannot convert a integer, a type into another data type. So friends, this is going to be it for today. After watching the part 1 and part 2 of conditionals, you should have fully understand the if statement, and in the next video part 3 we will move on to else statement. So you already know what to do. If you don't want to miss that video, then subscribe and turn on the bell icon so you can get the update of when I upload the else video. Then I will see you next time in the part 3. Till then, bye bye, have an amazing day.